Dear colleagues and friends, today we have the honor to formally deliver the report of the first conference on the transitioning away from fossil fuels to the presidencies of COP30 and COP31 was supposed to be here. Starting this session, this conversation, we were told that the energy model needed not only a new chapter, but a new book. And let me introduce you the book. The report we are delivering today is not just the outcome of the conference. It is the evidence of a new global conversation on climate action that has already begun. Yesterday night at the dinner gala, we heard about the need for strong new coalitions for sustainability. And I am pleased to announce that Santa Marta proved to be precisely that, the beginning of a new alliance of the willing, a new alliance of the doers. I believe the greatest achievement of our conference was its unprecedented capacity to build bridges among four fundamental divides. First, between the participation of the Global South and the Global North. Second, between the participation of fossil fuel producing countries and fossil fuel consuming countries. Third, the participation of governments and civil societies engaged on equal footing. And fourth, everything we did around science to be the base of public decision making. Together, these four axes became the cardinal points of a new global climate democracy, one that recognizes historical responsibilities, values diverse voices, and places knowledge at the center. The just energy transition now is part of the heart of diplomacy. And the just energy transition is what we should be all encouraged about in what we do in the everyday life. Allow me to use this occasion, perhaps one of the last opportunities to talk in the representation of the Minister of Environment of Colombia. As you know, our government is transitioning in a month. To talk a little bit more about what I learned from Santa Marta and what I think Santa Marta is telling us about the current moment we are living. Transitioning away from fossil fuels is not only an energy agenda. It is an economic transformation that is needed, and it is the energy security discussion that we have to address. Breaking fossil fuel locks-in, particularly for countries in the Global South, requires reshaping the economic structures and incentives that continue to sustain extractive industries. Let me be clear. The energy transition has never been merely a technological challenge. Above all, it is a matter of inequality, rooted in historical power relations of exploitation, extraction, and domination. As we speak about decarbonization, we face El Niño, not only with the fear of it being one of the most severe in the last centuries, but also with the reality that many countries from the Global South won't have the fiscal space to deal with it, to prevent the worst impacts, to recover from the devastation that we know is going to generate. The transition then will never be just if the most vulnerable countries are forced to choose between paying their debt and substituting the contaminating sources of energy, paying their debt or electrifying rural areas, paying their debt or transitioning away from fossil fuels and extractivist economies. In order to achieve transition, and despite the frustration generated by endless negotiations and insufficient national pledges, multilateralism is today more necessary than ever. But it must evolve. This is a historical moment for new forms of cooperation. First, coalitions without veto. Second, decolonial alliances capable of controlling and reversing historical inequalities and recognizing diverse pathways to well-being. And third, and above all, coalitions that can transcend the limits of the national state, the governments. Coalitions where peoples are embracing the transition. Coalitions where parliamentarians are participants of the political agendas, where subnational governments can challenge the national limitations that some countries and governments are imposing to transitioning away from fossil fuels, where indigenous authorities, social movements, popular organizations, peasants can participate, decide, and act. I call this an open and participatory approach, a multi-scalar environmental democracy. And I believe this is the only democracy capable of sustaining climate action beyond electoral cycles and political shifts. I talk here from experience. If tomorrow a country like Colombia, being as ambitious as it has been, is then deciding a different political path, one that gives the back to the Amazonian, one that denies climate science, one that is embracing the drill baby drill politics. If that is the scenario we are facing, only a multi-scalar environmental democracy will be able to challenge that reality. Because no election, no government, and not political step back can reverse a movement that is rooted in the defense of life. As my colleague Estintia taught me in Santa Marta, we need the results of the conference to be in all of us, every time, everywhere, and I thank you.